I'll start with the fact that, the cattle feeding industry, the beef industry, has been my whole career for 36 years. So obviously I've had lots of opportunities to go and do other things within Cargill, but have stayed within the beef industry because of my passion and interest in it. To me, the long-term position of beef on the plate, on the table, in our diets is important. It's a great resource of protein, and the value in the diet to me is something that I've believed in. I think what we've lost is some credibility over time with some of the attributes or perceptions around beef, and we need to bring that back. The disparage of our product over time from an environmental perspective, the target that we've been the last 10 years has done a lot of damage to the position of beef in the diet, and something that I believe this journey on sustainability based on all three of those areas, social, economic, environmental, can really help bring it back and reposition it, as Nicole said, in the diet and in the minds of our consumers.
Well, speaking personally, I'm an ecologist by education, and to my friends from Kansas State, I wasn't a very good researcher because I kept asking, but who's going to use this? How are we going to apply it? And so applied ecology was really where I ended up finding a niche, because unless it made a difference to an industry or a business, no offense to my researchers, but wasn't my interest, right? So I kept sort of asking that question. I remember professors getting really frustrated with me in school because I just couldn't really just analyze to analyze. I had to sort of keep asking that question, but what does it mean? Who's going to use it? So personally speaking, I haven't always been in agriculture. I've worked in different industries, whether it's construction or government, and but it's always been at that intersection about, but to what end? What does this mean? How am I going to use this information? And really applying science to a decision. And so that's really what gets me up in the morning is, using science in a way that matters to the business or to the decision that you have to make, given all sorts of complex factors and everything. You're just trying to make the best decision at the time, have the best information available, and then go for it and take that risk and manage it over time. And so that's really why I frustrated a lot of ecologists at the University of Pittsburgh for a long time, because I wasn't a very good sort of hypothesis driver. But that's what personally I see about applying sustainability in production agriculture, is it has to be about that decision that you're making at the end of the day, and that's what we're all driving towards and all after. So we just have to use the information the best way we can.
I think of the U.S. as a great big tent, and you think about a tent and the poles that hold the tent up. And have you ever foolishly pulled the wrong pole out and had the tent come down around your ears? This may be an old lady issue, because I grew up at a time when we had old canvas tents and they occasionally collapsed down on your head in the rain. But I do think of the U.S. as this great big tent, and I think of animal agriculture and beef production in particular as a really important pole, and possibly the most important pole holding this tent up in the U.S. that many people don't realize is there. And many people in policymaking positions and in, sort of important decision-making roles in this country don't have any connection to it, so they really don't know it's there. We're doing our job, it's holding up the tent, everything is fine, but they're not sure, they don't know that it's there or that it's important, and they think, well, there's some costs associated with this activity. We should probably just get rid of that activity, and then we'll be fine. And it's important to me to keep that tent up. It's going to hurt us all if it crashes down around our ears. And I believe that this sustainability effort is a really important way of helping us plan for the future, ensure that animal agriculture plays an important role, continues to play an important role in our country going forward. that's important to me because I'm an American and I want this country to work, and I believe that animal agriculture has a critical role in that. It's important to me because I love animal agriculture, but that's kind of selfish, right? I mean, this is the industry I love. This is what I want to do with my life. It's also important to me for an unselfish reason in that I really believe that beef in particular is good for people. I believe that raising cattle is good for the earth. I believe that animal agriculture is good for our society, and I believe that eating beef is good for your body. And I believe bad things will happen if we continue to reduce that or do away with beef production in the U.S. And so I want to do my tiny little part, right? I'm just this little girl who grew up on a goat farm in Minnesota. But I have a tiny little part that I can play in that, and so I'm determined to play that little role.
Personally, for me, I think the biggest reason is because I have a lot of friends and family, and myself included, that rely on the beef industry for my employment. I mean, that's how I make my living. If the beef industry goes away, then probably so do I from this job, certainly. I too believe in the beef industry, and I believe that cattle play a very important part in keeping a place that I hold near and dear to my heart, which is a wide open space, and it can be anywhere. But without those wide open spaces of grasslands that are habitat to some pretty cool furry little critters, and some little brown birds that I will never know the names of all of them. But if cattle go away, so do all of those places and all of those species. So,
that's great. What are some of the opportunities that you think sustainability initiatives like the ones you've talked about could provide in terms of maybe closing some of the communication gap, or what are the opportunities that these initiatives might empower for the whole supply chain?
I'll go. I think the biggest opportunity is, somebody said it earlier on one of the earlier panels, that the generation today that is graduating from college, they are more passionate about food than anyone else he's ever seen in his 30 years of teaching. So I think an opportunity is, I think we do a really good job of creating a story for our food with beef in this room. To each other, and kind of preach to the choir a little bit, and feel really good about it, and we should feel really good about it. I think these types of things open an opportunity for us to tell that story outside, and to really look at, and I'll talk about the roundtable specifically, where, I mean, it's not WWF going out telling the story, it's not McDonald's going out telling the story, it's not Cargill, it's all of us together going out, creating a story for our food.